When you think of the greatest basketball players of all time, there's a few people that come to mind. We've got the expert ball handlers that will cross you up and break your ankles. The dead-eye sharpshooters that will bury shot after shot if you give him just an inch of space.
Lets it fly. It's good.
And the genetic freaks that literally fly through the air. But in all of those players, there's one thing that runs common. They're all elite athletes. But there was this one guy. A guy that when you looked at him seemed way too short to play basketball with the 7-foot giant centers.
His height, it's just hard for him to compete. Plus his shot in high school wasn't that good. Charles was so average.
Way too fat to possibly keep up with the small and shifty guards, and way too sloppy to be considered a professional. But looks can be deceiving, because somehow this undersized and overweight man single-handedly changed the game of basketball.
Led by Charles Barkley.
Look out for this one. Here comes Barkley.
Barkley's there. He'll put it up.
Oh, and there's a swing by O'Neal. And they got a blue.
You really think I give a flying
We may have another technique, but not careful here. The sun,
I'm a dumbass.
This is the story of Charles Barkley, a man who in his prime beat Michael Jordan for MVP, fought the most dominant player of all time, and used his unique talent to humiliate the entire league, both on and off the court.
Paint this season. His name is Charles Barkley, and he may be the biggest thing to hit Philadelphia in some time.
Today's video is sponsored by Factor 75. Factor is a gourmet meal kit service that makes hitting your nutritional goals easier than ever before by delivering fresh, never frozen, dietitian-approved meals right to your doorstep. Skip the grocery trips, the meal prepping, the cleanup, and all the hassle with Factor's pre-prepared meals that are ready to eat in just 2 minutes. Factor hands the small stuff, so you don't have to. Their registered dietitians work hand in hand with their kitchen to ensure every meal is made from scratch with nutritious ingredients. They've got keto meals, calorie-smart meals, vegan and plant-based options. So you're not only cutting out the time it takes to prepare a meal with Factor, you're also taking out all the guesswork that comes with the grocery shopping and meal prepping. This week, I went with the Protein Plus meal plan. I got my meal, tossed it in the microwave, and just 2 minutes later, your boy was ready to go. Head to factor75.com or click the link below and use code 50hoops to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first Factor box. That's code 50hoops at factor75.com to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. Now, back to the video.
Charles Barkley was born in Leeds, Alabama in 1963, and growing up, he never really looked like the prototypical athlete. As a junior in high school, he was 5'10" and 220 pounds, which is obese.
His appetite has always been an issue. He once weighed 315 pounds. They called him Boy Gorge, round mound of rebound.
He failed to make the varsity team just like Michael Jordan and was completely unknown to the basketball world. There wasn't even a single scouting report on him in the country. But in his senior year, things started to change.
Between my junior year and senior year in high school, I went from 5'10" to 6'4", even though when I had the growth spurt.
Barkley hit a growth spurt, shooting up to nearly 6'4". This helped him make the varsity team and put up some impressive stats against the now smaller competition, averaging 19 points and 17 rebounds a game. But still, no scouts, no college offers, until the state semifinals. In that game, he came face-to-face with Alabama's most highly recruited prospect, Bobby Lee Hurt. And let's just say Barkley put the hurt on Hurt. Barkley scored 26 points on what was one of the most sought-after prospects in the country. And even though his team lost, an assistant for the Auburn head coach saw his potential. Speaking about Charles Barkley, he said, and I quote, "A fat guy who could play like the wind."
He could have said to me, "Charles, you need to lose some weight and you can play better," instead of saying I was a fat, out-of-shape slob all the time.
That single performance was enough for the head coach. He took a chance on the fat guy, and just like that, Charles Barkley became an Auburn Tiger.
I knew I had something special. I knew I had a pro on my hands.
In 3 seasons at the University of Auburn, Charles Barkley dominated the SEC. He led the conference in rebounding every single year, put up impressive stats including 14 points a game on a jaw-dropping 62% field goal percentage. He even led Auburn to their first NCAA tournament appearance ever. The dude filled up the stat sheet. In that tournament game, Barkley dropped 23 points, 17 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, and 2 blocks on over 80% from the field. And the craziest part is, he did this all while standing under 6'6" and carrying nearly 280 pounds.
It was just his amazing strength and explosiveness, even at that time weighing around 280 pounds.
He was like a bowling ball of brute force moving around the court. Imagine this fat guy soaring into the air to snatch rebound after rebound. Then on the next play, tear down the court like a runaway train.
Barkley takes it right by and master the guard all the way. Oh, beautiful.
Only to finish at the other end with a huge dunk. That's how Charles Barkley earned his nickname, the Round Mound of Rebound.
I'm Charles Barkley of Auburn Tigers. Here I feel my nickname. So my favorite is the Round Mound of Rebound.
And now everyone knew who Charles Barkley was. After dominating college and gaining national attention, Barkley decided to skip his senior year and declare for the 1984 NBA draft.
I had no real interest in playing on the Olympic team in '84. No disrespect to anybody, I just didn't want to play basketball all summer.
But before Charles Barkley was even picked, he started playing mind games with his future employer. Or so he thought. During the pre-draft process, Barkley found out that his weight was a huge concern for many NBA franchises. Teams like the Philadelphia 76ers wanted to draft him, but worried he'd fall out of shape or eat his way to injuries and chronic fatigue. So, instead of getting in shape, Barkley went on an eating binge, ballooning to over 300 pounds. Why, you might ask?
I didn't leave college for $75,000. We got to make sure the Sixers don't draft me down. So we went on a 2-day eating binge. I had like 6 pancakes, bacon, washed it down with a vanilla shake. Then we went to lunch, 4 or 5 pieces of Kentucky Fried Chicken, some mashed potatoes, some coleslaw. Then we went to dinner someplace. I had like a T-bone steak, had a baked potato. And then next day did the exact same thing.
Teams like the Philadelphia 76ers had no money. Barkley figured that if they saw how out of shape he was, they'd pick someone else. And he fall to a team with deeper pockets, giving him a bigger payday. But the Sixers weren't easily spooked. Despite the extra weight game, they picked him 5th overall, just 2 spots behind some guy named Michael Jordan. Full video on my channel if you're curious as to why Michael Jordan, the greatest player ever, got picked 3rd and not 1st. But just look at the joy in Barkley's face when he finds out his plan failed. Charles Barkley struggled to make the transition to the NBA. In his rookie season, he didn't play much. His scoring and rebounding numbers dropped, and he was incredibly unhappy about the situation. So Barkley asked his veteran teammate and 2-time MVP Moses Malone, "Hey man, why am I not getting more playing time?" Malone's response?
And I pulled Moses aside, and I said, "Moses, why am I not getting to play?" And Moses, you know, he's really brutal. He says, "You fat and you lazy, young fellow. You fat and you lazy." I'm like, "Oh, I'm fat and I'm lazy." He said, "You need to lose some weight." He says, "You want to work hard, I'll help you, Big Mo, I'll help you."
You could see that Charles wanted to be great, but he didn't want to work at it. So I said, "Charles, you know, things you got to do, it's not going to come easy because right now you're into pro ball, you got a lot of great athletes. So what you got to do, get the attitude and get mean and get aggressive and come play every night."
Brutal, yes. Effective? Absolutely. That tough love was a huge turning point in Barkley's NBA career. Under Malone's mentorship, Barkley dropped nearly 50 pounds, transforming himself from an overweight rookie to a lean, mean rebounding machine. By the end of that same season, he wasn't just holding his own, he was dominating again, while averaging 14 points and nearly 9 rebounds.
Charles was now dominating opponents and doing it in an entirely new way.
Charles is on the run again. 2-on-2. Behind his right by Ellis. Oh!
Here you had a power forward in a small forward's body with guard instincts, and there's never been a player that I can remember that combined all of that.
He's bringing the house down.
Plus, Philadelphia reached the Eastern Conference Finals. Not bad for the formerly fat rookie, eh? By his second season, Barkley was leading the team in rebounds and putting up 20 points per game. He grabbed rebounds like they owed him money, and even earned his first All-NBA second-team selection.
Scoop shot, offensive foul. Philadelphia has the lead on the ball with 3 seconds left.
In his third season, Barkley continued to improve, averaging 23 points and 14.6 rebounds per game, becoming the shortest player to ever win an NBA rebounding title. With that accomplishment, Barkley had the respect of the entire league. Players and announcers dropped the fat guy nicknames and instead called him Sir Charles.
And as they entered the postseason, Barkley's sights were set on nothing less than a march to the finals.
He felt at that time that was the most talented team that he'd had around him, and this was his chance in Philly to get there.
With Dr. J retiring in 1987, Barkley became the face of the franchise in Philadelphia. With the extra responsibility, his stats skyrocketed. 28 points on 63% field goal percentage and nearly 12 rebounds per game. The league didn't know what to do with him. He was a machine, a bulldozer in the paint, a freight train in the open court, and sometimes even a good defender.
Barkley. For the doctor. Woo!
Over a 6-year span, Charles went on to dominate All-Star games, make All-NBA first teams, and finish runner-up to Magic Johnson for MVP.
Was in the middle of 5 guys. Everybody knew who would always come up with that ball. It was Charles Barkley. And not only grab it, but explode up.
Still fighting for it.
Look at him go. Whoops. The sucker play by Barkley. Does it work?
Yes.
Charles Barkley. He's not human.
In the playoffs, he kept putting up insane numbers, averaging 24 points and 15 rebounds per game. But that all meant nothing to Chuck because his team kept getting bounced in the first and second round. By 1992, frustration boiled over, and Barkley was ready for a change. So he forced the Sixers to trade him.
He was traded to the Phoenix Suns with a 3-for-1 deal. The trade?
When Charles Barkley got traded to the Phoenix Suns at the end of 1992, it was like hitting the jackpot, both for him and the team.
I'm a member of the Phoenix Suns, and I am happy. I think for me, a change was needed.
That season, Barkley put up 25 points, 12 rebounds, and a career-high 5 assists per game, leading the Suns to the best record in the league and securing the MVP award, which is an important thing to remember. He won the MVP over prime Michael Jordan. Up until that point, MJ was considered the best player in the entire NBA.
Fans here and around America, join me in congratulating you, Charles Barkley, the 1992-93 National Basketball Association Most Valuable Player. Congratulations.
But Chuck was so damn good that there was an actual conversation that year between who was better. Their rivalry got even hotter when they ended up in the NBA Finals against each other. Of course, Jordan took that one, but Chuck was sensational in those finals, and even MJ had to acknowledge the kind of competitor Barkley was.
Yeah, he was the best player in the league. He presented a scare to us.
Early 1990s Barkley was a problem. He had this ability to back down anyone on the low post for an easy layup or assist. Or if his defender gave him space, he spotted up for a mid-range jumper. He could also just rip down rebounds over 7-foot centers for an easy putback layup, or take off on the fast break like he was Air Jordan. But the mid to late 90s were a mix of brilliance and bad luck. Barkley battled back injuries, yet still put up all-star numbers. He even dropped 56 points on the Warriors in a playoff game, a career high, while he was basically playing on one leg.
Because that game was so funny because I remember. And I remember I went to the bench and I says, "You're not gonna double me?" He says, "Nope." Because I had a triple-double. I think that was game 3. So I had a triple-double game 1. I had about 8 assists in game 2. So Nelly says, "We're not gonna double you tonight." I says, "You're not?" So I scored like 17 points the first quarter. So I run over again. I said, "Let me ask you're not gonna double me." He says, "You can get as many as you want." I said, okay. I was done.
In the late 90s, after another playoff disappointment, the Suns sent him packing to the Houston Rockets, which turned out to be a failed attempt to put together a super team around Hakeem Olajuwon, Clyde Drexler, and Charles Barkley. This is also when the league finally had enough of Sir Charles humiliating its players. On September 17, 1999, the NBA instituted a new 5-second violation that basically mandates that a player must either shoot, pass, or pick up his dribble within 5 seconds, aka the Charles Barkley rule.
On the 24, he checks the clock and starts back his way in. He'll roll left now.
Sir Charles's dominance was coming to an end, and he could probably feel it, because about a month later, this happened.
Efficient necessarily to take that shot that fast.
Oh, and there's a swing by O'Neal, and they got a brouhaha on the floor.
Yep. Charles Barkley went right after Shaquille O'Neal, the guy the entire NBA feared, on national television. Definitely one of my favorite brouhahas in NBA history. In the final game of the 1999-2000 season, with retirement looming ahead and injuries plaguing his career, Barkley famously worked his butt off to return from a torn quad injury to grab his final rebound and score his final basket. It was a demonstration of the type of player he was known to be, a tenacious competitor, always defying the odds and winning the hearts and minds of NBA fans around the world. So now that his career was over, how good was he really? Now, you can go and look at the numbers yourself. You can see how much he averaged in his prime, how he outscored MJ on the Dream Team, and how he yet, still to this day, has the 12th best PER in NBA history. But I'm here to show you something more unique. What you see is a graph consisting of some of the best power forwards in NBA history. We have all-time greats from the past like Tim Duncan and KG to current superstars like Anthony Davis and Giannis. Now, what I've done is calculated a player quality score, basically taking 8 major statistical categories together and adding a fancy weight distribution. As you can imagine, Kevin Garnett has a great score, as does Tim Duncan. Giannis and AD are probably higher than any of you expected. Remember, it's a bit easier to score in the modern NBA, and their careers aren't finished. And then we have Karl Malone at the top, probably the greatest power forward ever, if we set aside Timmy D's championships for a minute. But if we cross-reference those player quality scores with height, we get the pound for pound or inch by inch best player at the power forward position, sort of like they do in MMA. And then boom, top of the list, Charles Barkley. Even among the greatest fours the game has ever seen, when accounting for their height, Charles Barkley is the greatest power forward of all time. Pretty crazy that this pizza-loving round mound of rebound climbed to the top of the NBA. So you know how good Barkley was on the court, how he embarrassed his opponents, fought the biggest and baddest players, and literally changed the game. But off the court, Charles Barkley somehow changed the NBA even more. Chuck joined Inside the NBA on TNT in 2000, and since then it's been 2.5 decades of the funniest moments in television history. There are literal hour-long compilations of Charles Barkley roasting players, saying the most outlandish things, and doing some of the craziest stunts you've ever seen in your life. From the Draymond Green infamous triple single.
Well, he had 2 points, he didn't play.
Okay, tell me this.
Wait, you had 2 points and you gonna say he played? He had 2 more points than me. he had a triple single. He had his normal triple single.
To taking a bracelet from some random guy in a steam room.
Bracelet from a guy in the steam room back in Arizona. You got it, what? Time out. Hey.
And of course, Chuck's ongoing beef with San Antonio women.
True. I think it's a great city. I think they got the best organization in the NBA, but they do have some big old women down there. I mean, come on now.
Charles Barkley has become a staple for the NBA community, and countless shows have tried to replace or capture his innate charisma in their TV shows. But he's simply irreplaceable as a pundit. But again, don't let his greatness on TV outshine his career on the court, because Charles Barkley is a certified legend. So if you enjoyed these mini documentaries like how this fat and lazy slob humiliated the entire NBA, please let me know by subscribing. Only about 1% of my entire audience have ticked on notification bells, so if you want to let me know that you like stuff like this, subscribe or comment below. As always, thanks for watching. Peace.